Tuesday, February 3rd. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
It should be a Monday, and this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we talk about Gravity Bone.
Let's do this.
You might notice it's Tuesday night. We're doing a Tuesday show. There was no Monday show last night because we accidentally tried to do a Tuesday-Thursday week after already having done a Tuesday-Thursday week.
Yeah, whose fault is that?
Entirely Scott's.
What are you talking about?
I was like, on Sunday, I was like, hey, Scott, what are we doing the show on? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, it's Tuesday, right? And he's like, yeah, what?
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you said, yeah, well, it's Tuesday, right? So then it's your fault.
But
yeah, I don't know if there's going to be another show this week. Are we going to see that movie on Thursday?
Yeah, so maybe we'll do a Wednesday show like we should have. So we'll only be out one Monday as opposed to just totally cocking it up.
And the Comic-Con is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I had to go to Grandma's birthday party on Saturday.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm probably going to go Saturday, Sunday, and Scott's probably going to go like Friday. We got to figure all that out.
Yeah, we'll have to do something. But, oh, yeah, New York Comic-Con is this weekend.
Yep, so
You should go.
We are not doing any shows there. Nothing live. We're not doing anything. The next New York Comic-Con, we probably will. But this one, no, we're just press. So if you want to find us, look for Luke Crane at the mouse guard table.
Look for two guys with press badges walking around, looking around.
We kind of stand out. We'll probably have Emily with us as a photographer and such, and we might have Alex and Jess and other front row crew people hanging out at least one of the days. So we're not that hard to find. But it is, I had found myself over the weekend at a Circuit City. They're going out of business, and unlike previous goings out of business of stores, like when Media Play went out of business, you couldn't get deals on anything.
Well, because, basically what happens is they put tiny discounts on, first of all, right? If you go to a store that's not going out of business, everything in the store is slightly discounted, right? Just about. Nothing is at manufacturer retail price. That's ludicrous.
Except Apple products.
Right. So if you go to when they liquidate a store, they basically return everything to manufacturer suggested retail price and then put like a 10 or 20% discount on everything.
But anyway, the economy used to be different. So like when Media Play went out, like upstream suppliers would take stuff back and like other people would buy it in bulk.
Yeah, you couldn't buy books when Media Play went out of business because someone else just came in and bought all the books. So you couldn't, go in and individually get books at like half off or whatever.
Of course, it was kind of an aside that it made me realize what media is worth to me because there was stuff left. Like there were anime DVDs for like $4, and there were computer games, like $50 computer games for $5, and I stood there holding them and then decided they weren't worth what the $5.
I bought this Atari DS game. It basically had like Breakout and a few other Atari games like directly translated to the DS.
That was not worth the like 90 cents you paid.
I paid
that.
Almost nothing for it, and I regret buying it. That's how bad it was.
But now with the economy the way it is, you go to Circuit City and they've got like everything actually discounted, and they've got everything still there because people aren't buying it so quickly.
People lined up, but people, they're not buying enough. They might be going to look.
The things they bought right away, what's gone? Like those netbooks they had 10, 20% off are all gone.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But not gone, the DS games, and they're all like 20% off. So I went in and I realized that I don't want any DS games that are already out. All the DS games I want aren't out yet.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the Fire Emblem game, and I also pre-ordered this other game, like Henry Hatsworth Puzzling Adventure or something like that. It's a puzzly platform game. I'll figure what the hell. Yeah, people are talking it up.
We need something like that because there hasn't been a sequel to Layton.
Yeah, well, there have been. I think there have been at least 2 sequels, just not in the U.S.
See, you're mistaking this for Japan, where they get good games.
Earthbound 3.
I don't think they understand.
Mazza 3.
I wouldn't pay $5 for a lot of these games, but I would probably pay, if I had no other option, almost $100 for a DS cart that just had Mother 1, 2, and 3 on it in English.
Yeah,
like that would be
with a quality translation.
Yeah,
you can get the ROM, but really.
Honestly.
Really?
Honestly. Yeah. But the only game they had that was worthwhile that I didn't already own was Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, and I wouldn't have bought it. It was like $20, and I still wouldn't have bought it. But for the fact that Ananth had it, and he said it was good enough for someone like me to play, and I trust him.
All right.
Plus,
you played the other one. I'm not.
No, I played the other one until I realized that no amount of strategy had any impact on that game at all.
How do you know it's not true for the new one?
Oh, as soon as I discover that's true, I'll probably stop playing it. But to its credit, Dragon Girl's pretty cute. They also updated the designs of the bunny girls, and you can see the appeal of this game.
That's just fantastic.
And actually, one of the things that I liked about the previous tactics was the whole, fighting with the other clans thing. It was like this aside game, but it didn't really matter except for getting you a bunch of MacGuffins and goodies, and, my Baphomet does 5 more damage now. But they really upped the ante on the clan battling. Like, you get territory and control it, and we'll see. I'll talk about the game in more depth once I play it for more than, 5 minutes, because I still haven't beaten Dracula yet in the most recent, oh my god, there's a bad guy, oh my god, it's actually Dracula game.
All right, so it's sort of opportune that we did the show today and messed up and didn't do one yesterday like we were supposed to, because I don't know, it's all over the news. I don't know how anyone could possibly miss it, but 50 years ago today was the day that the music died, and no one in the forum said anything. So I'm assuming that the punk kids have no clue why this is a big deal. And I think it is very important that I teach them a lesson, exactly how large the magnitude of this tragedy was and why it is all over the news.
Would this not deserve like an entire show unto itself?
Yeah, but I don't have an entire show unto itself to do this.
We could do a special.
Yeah, but not on Tuesday.
All right, regardless, punk kids take heed.
All right, so imagine this. John Lennon, Freddie Mercury, and Jimmy Page. Imagine if all of them in the middle of the 60s, right, when they were just getting started or whatever, all died. I don't know, they were at they were in a plane and it crashed and they all died. Imagine what the world would be like right now. How different it would be.
Imagine if, all right, it's video game night. Imagine if Shigeru Miyamoto had just never been born, or he died halfway through the early days of Nintendo.
Times 3. So it wasn't just Miyamoto, it was also Iwata and Yokoi, all 3 of them.
Not Gunpei.
Yeah, Gunpei Yokoi.
What did he ever do that was good?
Everything.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Except for getting ostracized.
Imagine how different everything would be, right? So you think, you try to think of the world with 3 super important people missing from it. Well, you know what? You live in that world. 3 super important people are missing from the world that we live in. The world is fucked up. Because 50 years ago, what's his name? Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper were in a plane, and it crashed, and they all died.
There's a lot of speculation as to why it crashed and what happened.
No, there's no I'll tell you the story.
No, because there is quote-unquote speculation, because I remember very distinctly as a kid, I was watching the History Channel, and they had a documentary that was called something like What Really Happened When the Music Died.
I'll tell you what really happened.
And pretty much it was like, they were freebasing.
No, what the fuck?
This is what all I'm saying is that this was a documentary that pretended it was legitimate that I saw as a kid, and I was somewhat incredulous even then.
All right, here's the I'll summarize the story. Of course, people have studied this, event intensely, and there are incredible amounts of detail, minute by minute what happened. But I will summarize for you. Ready? So all these musicians were on tour, right? But this was they were touring around the Midwest, and back in those days, it was just a normal kind of ballroom music tour, right? It didn't have a big high profile or anything, but. Really, nowadays you look at a concert tour and it's got a headline band and a middle band and some low-hanging fruits. This was historically, when you look back at it, was all number ones straight across the board this tour, right? The thing is, the tour organizer was stupid. And the tour dates were one night they'd be in Chicago, and one night they'd be in Detroit, and then one night they'd be back in Indiana. So they're basically going back and forth instead of, in a nice row. So it was lots and lots of extra travel. So everyone was real tired and real grumpy, right? In addition, they were on a tour bus, as, was the style of the times and still is. And the tour bus had no heat. And it was the worst tour bus imaginable. It was the biggest piece of shit. So one night, right, there was no concert, and the concert promoter guy like got them a show, right? He's like, oh, I got a show to fill in the empty night, and they had to go all the way back somewhere else, and from where they were. So some of the guys are just like, you know what, fuck this. Let's see if we can charter a fucking plane. Let's just do it. And, you know, some people were like, nah, I can't pay the money, right? Like one guy said, you know, it's going to be, they found out it was going to be $36, you know, and I think 3 people could go. So and one guy like remembered how when he was a kid, his parents like couldn't get $36 for the rent. So he was like, there's no way I'm paying a whole rent on a plane ride. But, you know, and in the end, you know, Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Richie Valens were the 3 who were on the plane. One of them, I think, was on the plane because they won a coin toss or something. And the plane crashed. The reason the plane crashed is very simple. Remember, the bus had no heat, and they were grumpy about it because it was winter. It was cold. It was snowing. There was a snowstorm. The pilot, you know, this is the kind of guy that you charter. Like, you know, you just will go out to the airport and charter this dude. He was not the greatest pilot in the universe. He actually couldn't fly on instruments only, and it was night, and it was a snowstorm, and he was a bad pilot.
But
and that's
the
pretty much
History
it.
Channel said they were all freebasing cocaine.
They might have been, as they were musicians in the late 50s. Cocaine may have been involved. However, the reason for the plane crash was probably not the cocaine, if any.
This is, I mean, if you think when John Bonham died, that was bad.
Yeah, people they just don't get it, you know? And the thing is, it's because you had like, you know, like look at someone like Elvis, right? It's like, you know, he made all this music and, you know, he wasn't perfect in, you know, all ways, but, you know, so influential and significant and whatever, right? Buddy Holly alone, right? He was only like a musician for a year and a half and then he died. And in that time, I mean, you know, everyone's heard his name. Even if someone doesn't quite know who it is, they're like, yeah, I heard that name before. That's a famous old musician from back in the day. They'll know that much from someone who was only playing music for a year and a half.
Yeah, if nothing else.
If him alone had been playing music longer, right, and didn't die, he'd be like as big as Elvis or the Beatles or whatever.
Of course, I mean, it's all hindsight. For all we know, they would have never made a good song again.
It's possible, but I mean, look at stuff like, you know, Richie Valens, right? He's known for La Bamba, and you think, oh, you know, he's sort of a one-hit wonder. Well, think about this, right? Would he have been a one-hit wonder if he had not died? And 2, even his one hit, La Bamba, it's like a mega hit, even today. It's
one of those songs that everyone has heard it. You all know what it is, even if you have no idea who did it. No, don't even know what era it's from, but you've heard it and you know it. You can hear it in your head right now.
Yeah, you know. So
I hope you can.
if you can't, that's pretty sad. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're just turning into old men.
I mean, here, think about this, right? A rock and roll band, right? What instruments do you have in a rock and roll band?
Well, there's the bass.
Yep.
And nothing else matters, of course. But
right? No, a rock and roll band usually has, you know, a drum, a bass, a guitar or 2, and if there's a second, you know, and then a vocalist, right? And maybe the vocalist plays the second guitar, right? Which is, you know, Buddy Holly invented that. Like, you know, I guess maybe he wasn't the first ever to do that, but, you know, rock bands are that way because of a guy who played music for only a year and a half.
So kids, give up one of your energy drink toasts or something when you're playing Guitar Hero. I don't know. It's Tuesday night. There's no way to tie that in.
No, I wasn't trying to tie it in, but it is too important not to be noted. And the punk kids,
because the punk kids in the forum, like they know, like they will celebrate the anniversaries of things that didn't even happen a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you celebrate like International Day of Slayer, you know, come on. I mean, while that is very important.
It is critical, in fact.
Yes, this is like 10,000 times.
But anyway, to move right along back to video games, for all of you who might have bought Gears of War on the PC, which might have not been that many people, since, you know, most people who play Gears of War play it on their console, I'm sure you know now that it stopped working due to the fact that, well, originally it was reported that the DRM failed. The DRM certificate was only good until January.
Isn't this an Xbox game?
Yeah, but the PC version is what was affected.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a PC version. That's interesting.
You know what? I didn't either until I read this article.
All right.
But apparently, on January 28th, 2009, that was the last day that the digital certificate that was used in the game was valid. So from that day forward, you just can't play it.
Are they going to renew it or what?
They said they're working on it. I have yet to find any reference to them having actually fixed it.
But see, the thing is, if you just hack or get a pirated version, you can play it, right?
Yeah, I think the moral here is that if a game has DRM, you should probably just pirate it.
Or unless the DRM is reliable, like Steam.
Yeah, but even then, I've had a lot of trouble with Steam because
It's so weird. I mean, like, I'm not denying that other people have had have had trouble with Steam, because I've seen other people have trouble with Steam. I've seen it with my own eyes.
because you hardly use Steam.
But I have never had trouble with Steam.
My issue is
I
primarily
use it every day.
No, Scott, my issue is primarily that I have a laptop and a desktop. And Steam will randomly, when it's in offline mode on the laptop, just freak out and say, until you get on the internet again, you can't play any of your games.
See, I don't use Steam on a laptop. I just use it on my desktop.
Yeah, well, that's probably why you haven't run into any problems.
Well, you're poking the bear.
Poking the bear what? It has an offline mode, and they say very specifically, install it on your laptop, install it on all your PCs. Go to some arcade somewhere, some LAN party place, log into your account, all your games.
Yeah.
Except when that doesn't work. But anyway, this borders on pathetic.
It's pretty sad.
And apparently, they released a statement clarifying that DRM had nothing to do with this.
Bullshit.
That in fact, it was the anti-cheat technology they have built into the game that is at fault.
Bullshit.
That the thing that's supposed to prevent you from cheating at Gears of War is what is preventing you from playing it right now.
Playing it at all?
At all.
At all.
Granted, I remember a couple of times in the kind of the height of cheating in games like Counter-Strike when Punkbuster was in use. There were a couple times when things like Punkbuster would like randomly kick me from a game and accuse me of cheating and ban me.
Yeah, but even though, cheating at the worst, they just ban you from online play, like Valve's VAC, Valve anti-cheating technology.
VAC has never screwed with me. However,
well, VAC is that, but also it just permanently bans you from playing online. You can play all the Counter-Strike on your LAN that you want if you get VAC banned.
Or
you can also play on non-VAC servers.
However, I do point out that Steam's DRM has caused a lot of problems. Particularly, there was a recent update to Steam, and they made another update that I think fixed it. I haven't chanced it yet. Whereby, and it only affected natural selection and a bunch of other kind of indie mods.
Well, I think it's because those mods so heavily modded the game that it appeared as cheating. It's like
no, it wasn't cheating. It was that if you were logged into those servers, your Steam ticket would just expire and you would be kicked. Which in a game like NS is devastating.
That's pretty bad.
Like it got to the point where
if you're an alien with a bunch of res going Onos and you get kicked.
What I would do is I'd save up res, and because when you log back in, you get your res back. And then as soon as I had too much res and I'd just been kicked, I'd log back in, I'd gorge it, I'd build like 10 brocies.
Brocies.
So the map was all the Marines would be like, all right, everybody heavy now. We got 5 minutes before you all get steamed. Let's do this. But DRM, anyone who apologizes for it or says, but without DRM, people would pirate, or without DRM, DRM is the only way, just suck it up, or DRM doesn't really cause problems, or, it has problems all the time.
People who have DRM have all these problems. People who pirate never have any complaints.
Yes, this is a problem. And plus, couple this with all the studies pointing out that people, the 98% piracy rates of some games, maybe those people wouldn't have played the game if they had to pay for it in the first place. So
that's exactly
what's the
true.
DRM even doing?
Valve actually has said, some people at Valve, where there was a recent story that they were like, look, we had all this piracy in Russia, right? Crazy piracy in Russia. So what did they do? They went and they decided, well, first of all, let's translate our games to Russian, right? And second of all, let's release them in Russia the same day we release them everywhere else, on Steam. And, for the same reasonable prices, not for up higher or lower prices. And you know what happened? A lot of people in Russia bought the game and didn't pirate it. See, the opinion of Valve is that a pirate is an underserved customer. Either your price is too high for them or you're not serving them in some way, yet they still want to play your game on some level, but they don't want to play it badly enough to pay for it or something else.
Well,
so
I think part of that is coming from the fact that there is so much free, legal, or disposable, or so cheap that it doesn't matter entertainment, especially in video games already, that if a game isn't good, like if a new game comes out and it is not good enough to like to force you to want it, like this is a game you have to play. Like when Left 4 Dead came out, you pretty much had to play it. That was a fantastic game.
For a while.
Yeah, well, but every game fades in the end, except Counter-Strike and Natural Selection and Tribes 2. But
and Mega Man.
If a game isn't good enough and there's 100 games that are all kind of mediocre, no punk kid cares enough about any one of them to pay for it. If they can play it for free, they'll play it for 5 minutes and then they'll dump it.
Yeah, even I did a whole, when Spore came out and there was the early release and all the piracy and all the DRM, remember the whole fiasco, I put a poll in our forum. And I know a forum poll is not better than anecdotal evidence.
Are you kidding?
It's basically worthless.
Geeknights forum polls
Scientifically
are
speaking.
100% statistically significant.
Right.
5% of the time.
Even though I recognize that, right, I honestly do believe that the results of that poll represent reality, that the number of pirates that actually would have bought the game if piracy were not possible, and because piracy is possible, will not buy the game, is such an insignificant, tiny percentage as to be effectively like 0 or 1%.
Well, the problem with Spore in particular was that the demo gave me everything I wanted out of that game.
Yeah.
And the demo, I was a little excited, but then, I waited for the game to come out.
I think that might have been the greatest disproportion between hype and reality ever.
Other than, I don't know, Daikatana.
Daikatana didn't have as much hype as Spore. It was worse than Spore.
Well, but the tricky part is the disparity. I mean, if a game is so bad, any amount of hype leads that number into the realms of the infinite.
Spore wasn't good. I mean, it was just sort of eh.
Plus, I point out that it's kind of like inflation. You have to account for how much hype there was back then compared to the size of the PC gaming industry.
It's a tough one.
I mean, that world,
PC in a way, PC gaming was bigger back then, but in a way, it's smaller. It's tough. Anyway,
but, I mean, back then, but seriously, this happens too often for people to continue to make the argument that DRM is okay as long as it's done correctly, because the moral here is that it's not done correctly, and this happens all the time.
Yeah. All right. So on Steam right now, speaking of, right, there's a beta of a game, a Warhammer 40K RTS game called Dawn of War 2. And they call it a beta, but really it's a demo. And at the end of the demo, it asks you to pre-order the real game, right? And all this demo lets you do is play multiplayer. That's all it lets you do. And it's so weird because it uses games for Windows. So it's like you got games for Windows and then Steam on top of it. So it's like I got both things going on for the same exact game. It's really weird. But so it was free beta. So even though I'm not I sort of hate RTSs and that most of them, I mean, I like the idea of a real-time game that is strategic. That's like the greatest thing in the world. But most RTSs end up being who can click the fastest, who can remember the exact best sequence of things. And
maybe we should do a show on what it would take to make a good RTS.
Anyway, so this game was free, so I figured, well, might as well give it a shot, right? At the worst, it's just another ClickFest, right? And then I could just delete it. It didn't cost me anything. So I downloaded it and I played it a few times, and I played it enough times to sort of learn how it works, because there's no tutorial or anything. So you sort of have to just sort of keep playing with it and keep poking buttons in order to, figure out what's going on. And, I sort of played it enough to learn the deal, and it's better than other RTSs I've played in a lot of ways. But in many ways, it's also the same old, right? And basically, I'll just real quick, you don't build any buildings. You have one building, right?
I kind of like building buildings.
I also kind of like building buildings.
Of course, that was always the problem, because whenever I played Command and Conquer,
you'd build all the buildings and never go anywhere.
And then tanks just come over the horizon.
Exactly.
Or usually I played with other people who were like me. So we'd both build giant bases and never actually attack each other.
That was great.
And then the modem connection would usually pan out or peter out right about as I was going to
have this
attack.
one building, right? And you can upgrade the building twice. And basically all you do is you have two kinds of resources. Well, 3 resources, actually. First,
four resources.
There's 3 resources.
The fanatical devotion to the Pope.
There's the triangle, right, which I think is like command or something. I don't know. It's triangle. Lightning bolt, which is energy, and people. You always have 100 people or 99 people or whatever it is. You can't get more than that. You can't get less than that. That's what you have. To get triangles and electricities, you have to capture these spots on the map, right? So you start off with one hero guy and one troop, which is like 4 guys together, like a little squad, and you send them out to go capture things, right? So you capture a little power plant, and now it starts generating more lightning bolts. You capture a triangle command point, it starts generating more triangles for you. And you can use the triangles and lightning bolts to build more guys. And every time you build more guys, those guys eat up some of your people. So you can never have more guys on the board that equal 99 people. So like a squad of scouts might only cost you 5 people. So you can have a huge army of scouts, but maybe like, a giant robot costs 15 people. So you can't have too many of those, right? And you can't really have anything commit suicide, but you can send it out to die and get killed by the other teams if you need, to get some people back. And you can also spend your points to upgrade guys. So, like, let's say I build a normal troop, a squad of tactical soldiers. I could upgrade them with, like, plasma guns or something for, like, some number of lightning bolts and triangles and whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then, basically, all you do is you order your guys to go around the map, and you can give them orders, like attack, run away, defend, these sorts of things, right? And you want to get, of course, more triangle and lightning bolt spaces, not let the other guys take away your triangles and lightning bolts, minimize how many they have. But most of all, there are 3 spots on the board, at least depending on the board, I guess, map, that are the victory point things. So when you get those, you're going to start getting victory points, right? And everyone starts, I think, with like 500 victory points. I don't remember the number. And if someone else, the other guy has more victory point things than you, then you start losing points.
Aha.
And basically, it's a thing that pushes left and right, back and forth, right? And whoever goes down to 0 first is the loser. So you basically have to control more of the victory point spots than the other guy for a longer time in order to win. And, at a certain point, when the other guy's down to 0, you win. Or if you're down to 0 and he's still at 1, then he wins.
So the operative question is it good? Or in the, as the internet wants, on a 1 to 10, does it get an 8.5?
Well, as I said, it's a little bit better than other RTSs I've played in the past, like the click fests and such, but it's not perfect. A lot of it is just, sort of a rock, paper, scissors. A lot of it is, a quick clicking, like, quickly get over to where, you have to manage units all over the board. So it's like, as guys up top, you tell them to fight and take cover. You go down low and, you tell some guys to run away, regroup, and come back in. Meanwhile, something happened up top. You didn't get up there fast enough to do anything about it. Or, you spend some resources to upgrade some guys with a particular weapon and you tell them to go in. Oh, so the other guy switches. He has one guy run away and bring some other troops in, and there's a little rock, paper, scissors going on.
See, I guess the RTS I want is one that's imperfect information, kind of like, giving orders to units with good AI and real slow. So it's real time, but you kind of react in a more realistic real time.
The one good thing I can say about it is that when you give orders of where to tell the guys to go somewhere or do something, they're significantly smarter about it than they have been in the past and in other RTS I played. And in fact, quite often, what you're going to do is you're going to tell your units to either most of the orders I gave were either run away, and there's a big exclamation point. When you push that, your guys run away, and immediately. And they also get like a huge defensive boost when they have the exclamation point. So running away with the exclamation point is like the best way to go.
So no more days of my own troops being run over by my harvester.
Exactly. And 2, when you tell guys to go somewhere, you're usually either telling them to capture a point, which they just do, right? Or you're telling them to stand somewhere and take cover. And when you tell someone to take cover, these like dots actually show up. Like, let's say there's a wall, right? I'll move my mouse over near the wall, and you'll see, like, let's say I'm telling 4 guys, a squad of 4. You'll see like 4 green dots appear around the wall. And if I click, that's where my 4 guys are going to be, and that's where they're going to take cover. So they can actually take cover in all these like cool positions on the map wherever there's stuff. And you can actually, what was really cool is I had a giant robot and I just told him to walk across the map to this point I wanted. And he crushed all these walls and things as he was walking, just destroying places for people to take cover. So there was definitely an element of taking cover, destroying things that you can take cover around, coming in at angles which are not, easy for the other, the enemy to have defended well, that sort of thing.
Uh-huh.
So maybe you should install it while it's still free and we can play some, against each other where we're not awesome and going to kill each other easily. I don't know.
We'll see. I have a lot of Command and Conquer under my belt on a 486.
Also, Warhammer people will like it. It is very Warhammer 40K. Very. It's like Space Marines all the way.
But anyway, things of the day. I subscribed to Nintendo Power. I got every issue up until the N64 era, and then I gave up on it.
I did not subscribe to Nintendo Power.
In fact, I subscribed from day one. You're looking at someone who got Dragon Warrior.
I subscribed to GamePro, and recently I got rid of them all. Because they were taking up space.
Yeah, my Nintendo Powers, either my brother has them or my mother has them. But
my brother has some Nintendo Powers from the N64 era.
But of all the Nintendo Powers, what I treasure more than anything is I actually have 2 copies of it. The Final Fantasy I Complete Strategy Guide.
I had the Mario 3 Strategy Guide.
I had that one too.
That one was like the best. I wish I still had it.
I have it too. It had all that historical stuff.
It was on cardboard, and you saw where the hammer suit was, and I was like, holy shit, hammer suit is real, holy shit.
But it had all that good art in it, and it had
all the maps of every level.
It had all those historical things like which Mario was fastest? Who jumped the furthest? Check out this Mario 2 comparison.
I mean, like, GameFAQs sort of defeat strategy guides nowadays, but when people make GameFAQs, it's all text. No, you never have that, that here are the maps of every level going on GameFAQs. I really think people who make GameFAQs should start, upping their ante. Make PDFs with the graphics. Come on, But
GameFAQs, they go for that very specific aesthetic of crap punk kid written. I mean, every GameFAQ has like the beginning part where they draw like an ASCII picture of the controller and they're like, press this to open the menu and this is the B button.
Yeah. And then whenever they describe like the one thing that you're trying to figure out, you can't really tell what they're talking about.
I know. God. I was looking up where to find like one of the villagers I couldn't
It'd
find.
It'd be like, jump up to the platform and then go right and then go down. It's like, well, there's like 3 platforms. I can go right and down from all of them. What
because all the GameFAQs now, most of them are written in this walkthrough format. It's like, who is so sad that you want a walkthrough of a whole game? GameFAQs should be for the time where you don't know where the last Baphomet is and you don't want to spend an hour hitting every wall with holy water.
Yep.
That is the only thing it should be
It's
for.
like when you do a strategy guide, right, for anything, what you want to do is you want to compartmentalize everything. That way, if anyone skims to any part of the FAQ, they can just read that part individually and know what to do. So, like, if you're talking about the secret in the middle of level 8, the language, when you talk about how to get that secret, should assume that somebody started reading at that sentence and didn't read this, the sentences before and the sentences before that, But it's like you can't use words like go to the next platform because they don't know what the previous platform was.
But anyway, the cool thing, like I remember one thing in that strategy guide, they actually had a list of all the different animations and death sprites of Mario through the years. Neat stuff like that. Nintendo Power, in the early days at least, I don't know what it turned into later, because obviously N64 is when I gave up on consoles and went PC all the way until the end of the GameCube era.
Yeah.
But pretty much, these Nintendo Power had a lot of like art and video game stuff in it that wasn't just strategy guides. And I really enjoyed reading Nintendo Power when I was a punk kid.
I enjoyed reading GamePro when I was a punk kid before it sucked.
See, GamePro, I was never a big fan of. I had Nintendo Power and PC Gamer.
People like to disrespect GamePro, but they don't remember the earliest days when, it was Scary Larry and such.
I never liked Scary Larry, I'll be honest.
You know what I found out about Scary Larry? You know what he does now?
Scares people?
He's the boss of Pokemon.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
In a twisted way.
He runs
Plus,
like the Pokemon.
Scary Larry, Scott, had nothing on Coconut Monkey. Coconut Monkey, how do you beat me even though you have neither arms nor legs?
I also had PC Gamer.
And the fact
But now
that he cheated at his own games,
I know, right?
and that was the only way to win.
I
was
have a
to
PC
cheat.
Gamer CD somewhere. I wonder if it'll work and we can get Coconut Monkeys on there.
I have PC Gamer floppy disks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I was into that stuff. But anyway, I have 2 YouTube videos for you. The first is an ad for Nintendo Power. Let me tell you, if anything could be iconic of the year 1986, it is this ad. Every ad on TV for kids looked exactly like this Nintendo Power
The TV
ad.
shows on TV looked exactly like that commercial.
Oh my
The
god.
things that told you we'll be right back after this commercial looked exactly like that commercial.
It's frightening to watch it again. And then as a bonus prize, in case you've already seen this, which I hope you would have seen it in 1986, like I did. Someone made a YouTube video of like every cover of every Nintendo Power in order. And that brought back a lot of nostalgia. Like, I remember every single one of those issues. I could probably tell you what else was in them.
I think it just really helps you sort of get a better grip on the chronology, because it sort of blurs together. It's like, well, what came first? Zelda 1, Mega Man 2, Metroid.
Plus, Nintendo Power had original awesome cover art for the longest time.
Yep.
It doesn't seem to have it so much anymore, but back then,
Nope.
like, they were famous for the fact that kids had nightmares about the live action, like, photographic scene they made of Simon having murdered Dracula for the second time.
That is, video game magazines were a lot like video game instruction books, right? They used to be like works of art into and of themselves and have lots and lots of original illustrations. And then
A lot of people ask me why I throw away the instruction books to games I buy now. I have a bin of like old NES instruction books like Legend of Zelda and Golgo 13, and these instruction manuals had awesome original art. They were like 30 pages long, full color with backstory.
Zelda 1 came with a map.
Yeah.
I have my Civ 2 manual. It's a book.
The instruction book that came with a certain unnamed DS game I bought recently, it wasn't Tactics Advance, it was another DS game, was like a 4-page black and white turn the game on book in 4 languages.
Yeah.
Like, it was pathetic. Nintendo Power, I salute you, even though you were basically just a marketing machine for Nintendo, much like the Wizard.
Mm-hmm. All right, so also, speaking of Mario,
To me, a Mario.
some people on Reddit made a series of images called Mario Explains It Relationships, right?
Mario explains it all.
Yeah, so basically they use the Mario level as a metaphor for things that are true or stereotypically true. So the first image in the series is a picture of Mario, and he's on the ground, right, as a big pit. And then there's some more ground, but that ground is way up high. So high, Mario can't possibly jump up there. And there's 2 labels, and the label to the low ground is friendship, and the label on the high ground is relationship.
You pretty much just have to look at these.
Yeah, I'm only describing the first one. But do you see how, the picture, the design of this fake Mario level, is a metaphor that symbolizes, something that is stereotypically true. If you're friends, you'll never be in a relationship because Mario can't jump that high. And basically, a bunch of other people came along and took this image and expanded it and expanded it and expanded it. And usually when, you've heard of people saying you took the metaphor too far, and it sort of starts to not work anymore. It never doesn't work anymore. It just continues to work more. And it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of stereotypical humor, much like the old Ladder Theory website was, but it's cleverly done and funny. It reminds me of what Photoshop Fridays used to be like in a big way. Like, it harkens back to the days of just people taking a meme or an idea and extending it well beyond what was tasteful for much hilarity.
Mm-hmm.
But we are talking about something very brief tonight, since it's not actually a Tuesday Geek Nights and we screwed up and I kind of want to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to actually review Gravity Bone, which we talked about very briefly the other last Tuesday.
Yep. So Gravity Bone was this indie PC FPS game that I heard about, and it was getting some talk on the internets, and then I played it, and then just now Rim played it, and it's a real short game, but I think it's a real good game.
Like, literally, I came home from work, I turned the game on, and I heard Scott pulling up in the driveway. I beat the game like 5 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a lot better than Multiwinia, which I paid for.
Burn.
Yeah, burn.
I think one thing to say about Gravity Bone, right, is that unlike some other indie games, it gets all the basics right. You know, the graphics are smooth, the game works, you can set any resolution, you know, that you can customize your controls, the controls are smooth.
Well, dude, it's based on Quake 2. It uses the straight-up Quake 2 engine, so literally, you turn it on, and I can just go into a menu and change all my controls. This is what bothers me about a lot of new games, especially a lot of indie games that try to be cool or try to be clever. They might do something awesome and innovative or like Multiwinia, but every PC game I have ever bought in my entire life, that I've ever played in my entire life, the first thing I do after it is installed, when I turn it on, when I'm first playing, is hit escape, click on options, customize my controls. The fact that a lot of modern indie games don't have that option, it's like a step 10 years back.
Yeah, I mean...
Not even 20, because 10 years ago, every game did that.
I mean, I can understand on like a console game not letting someone customize the controls, but on the PC, customizing the controls is sort of a necessity because... You know, when you've got, you know, a mouse and keyboard, you know, some people like the arrows, some people use the WASD, some people like an inverted mouse, you know, and while even if you just have the option and keep it in a menu, you don't have to put it up front. You know, 90% of the people won't customize the controls, but it takes like a couple hours to add that functionality in. You know, it's not a difficult thing, so just do it.
But this game, of course, we're not going to quote unquote spoil it because there are spoilers and it's a 5-minute game.
Yeah. It's got hard to tell.
It's a game, literally, you kind of just sit down and play it without knowing I have no idea what it's about. And it's a game that will teach you what to do, let you do it, and then gives you a big payoff at the end for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all style and all class.
Yeah.
And not in the, not class like our Gekiga panel. We're talking class in the non-ironic sense.
Yeah.
That has to be said. The word class has come to mean something very odd in the front row crew.
Well, what I think I like about it is it gives you sort of equal parts puzzle solving, equal parts, you know, manipulating the world in a fun way, equal parts platforming.
Little bit of exploration.
Yeah, a little bit of exploring.
Also, it's odd. The second mission is odd. Like, odd to a degree that would almost be disturbing, but in this wonderful, deliciously odd way.
Yeah, and it also has, I think, you know, a chase scene. And the thing about the chase scene, right, is that I can't remember a video game that had, like, a good chase scene. And when I actually played the chase scene in this game, I was like, wow, that was a fucking awesome chase scene. How come no other game has a chase scene like this?
I mean, obviously, there's some scripted bits.
This 5-minute game has a better chase scene than any professionally made game ever? Seriously?
I think that was the best chase scene I've ever played in a game ever.
Yeah, I mean...
Any game, even games that are designed around chasing people, have not been able to attain the chase scene in this game.
Yeah, because I mean, what happens when you have a chase scene in a lot of games? Either A, it's one of those incredibly annoying chases where you're like, it's impossible to catch up, right?
Or it's a Mario Sunshine where the guy will just kind of wait, like just sit there invisible, waiting for you. No matter what you screw up, you just go get him.
Yep. Or it's not really a chase, it's just a time trial. You know, and it's basically, if you can do this, you know, it might as well just be a timer that counts down, 2 minutes, because the other guy will always run at the same speed. So you will always, pretty much the game is just challenging you to beat something.
This is clearly scripted. I messed around a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it definitely
and
is.
It definitely will not let you, unless you die or something, it's not going to just screw you or anything. But what makes it amazing is that it's so immersive. Like, the scene that I would liken it to is in Half-Life 2 when you first get out of the early part of the game and you're in this apartment building and then some shit goes down.
And the guys come down the stairs and whack you.
And, everything just goes, and you're just, trying to get out. And you're, running through this unfamiliar place full of apartments and dead ends. And it just...
Well, that's a being chased scene.
Yes, but it reminded me of that in that it's very difficult to immerse me in a game to the point that something cinematic happens without it being so scripted that like I feel like I'm just on a rail.
Yep.
But this and that scene in Half-Life, one being chased, one chasing, are perfectly balanced between it's really just a cinematic and yet you are playing it.
Yeah,
It immerses
definitely.
you like to a frightening degree because like you don't know what to do and the game doesn't tell you what to do, but yet you just know and you just chase and it just works.
Yep. I definitely, those two are great cinematic. Those are like possibly, I think, some of the most cinematic scenes in all FPSdom.
Yes, but I gotta say, also, not to spoil, but what happens at the end of this chase scene was unexpected and delightful.
It is delightful in sort of a silly way, though.
It is, but at the same time...
I mean, that little Godfather reference just sort of tossed in there. And
but at the same time, just playing it, no game has done that to me before. Like, games that have tried to do similar things have been so ham-fisted, even professional games, and no scene in all of Fallout 3 comes close to the immersion of this 5-minute blockheaded game.
Yeah, I mean, the game basically does it does a bunch of disjointed, sort of corny, silly things, that are all really stylish, but don't really have much to do with each other. But somehow they sort of work. And I don't know what the magic is there, but it's a good magic.
Yeah.
If you have a computer that can play, Quake 2...
Everyone in the world should play this game.
This is free, and it takes like 10 minutes.
And game designers take notes. This game accomplished more in 5 minutes open source play than like Mirror's Edge, which was supposed to be the innovative game of the year, did in... Well,
the guy who made this, I went to his website, and he's actually made a whole bunch of other stuff that is, I played a couple of them, and they were also, pretty good. Not as good as Gravity Bone. Obviously he gets better with time, right? But a lot of his old stuff is like some Doom mods and Quake mods and Half-Life mods. He basically, is a mod making guy, and he makes all sorts of stuff like this. And I think that guy's going places. Someone needs to hire him. Maybe Valve. Maybe someone. He has the skills.
all right, we screwed up. It's a Tuesday. We did another Tuesday. It's late.
I don't know if we're going to get another show this week.
Short show. Going to bed. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, who
Maybe
knows?
we'll see you at the New York Comic Con.
No, we will.
Yep. Yeah. And don't forget, Mouse Guard is out. The RPG.
The Mouse Guard RPG. If you don't have one, buy one. If you're going to the New York Comic Con, you'll be able to buy one there.
Of course, we'll
Hopefully.
review it soon. But
It should be in your. You should be able to get it on Amazon easy.
you know what?
You should be able to get it at your local Borders or Barnes and Noble or comic book
I'm
store.
gonna spoil
easy.
the Mouse Guard RPG review. It's awesome.
It's the best.
Oh my God.
Dude, was there any question? I don't know.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.